Hello fellow gamers and welcome to my gamer dark side. Today I'm going to discuss a very personal topic to me that I've experienced many times before actually understanding that it was a wrong way of thinking. Nowadays people on the internet love comparing games to see which one is better, and that also includes Tomb Raider versus Uncharted games. And I understand that I've been there before. Growing up as a kid, I've always been a big Tomb Raider fan myself. Eventually Uncharted also ended up stealing my heart too. But before that happened, there was actually a small period of time that I was against the Uncharted franchise because I thought that Nathan Drake was stealing some of Lara's protagonism because the games looked kind of similar, and I thought that they were stealing some of the main elements from the Tomb Raider games. But oh boy, I was wrong. I'm glad that those times are over, and I'm actually now embarrassed that I even had that kind of logic back then. But back to the main topic, let's discuss why it shouldn't matter comparing Tomb Raider games with the Uncharted games. There are too many of them, I can't show them all. Well, to get the main thing out of the way, Tomb Raider was created before Uncharted was even a real thing. Yes, surprise surprise. The first Tomb Raider game was released in 1996, while Uncharted Drake's Fortune was only from 2007. And that, fellow gamers, is a huge time difference. While it is true that the Uncharted games may have took some inspiration from the old Tomb Raiders, it's also true that the Tomb Raider games also used a little bit of the main concept from the Indiana Jones franchise. Also, from those of you who don't know, the Indiana Jones franchise actually had a big presence in the video game industry. There were lots of video games released since the beginning of the 80s, with the first one being Raiders of the Lost Ark that was released in 1981 for Atari. Of course, these three games ended up being all connected in terms of main concept, but they have completely unique ways of how to enroll it. For example, initially, the Indiana Jones games were these 2D side-scrolling graphic adventures with a few puzzles on it, while Tomb Raider started its way with its 3D looking graphics, the classic tank controls, and of course the very hard puzzles. And then Uncharted took an opposite turn with its action-oriented gameplay and third-person shooting perspective, and also with a few puzzles on it. That's how all of them started. Of course, some changes were eventually made so that these franchises could adapt to the more recent trends in video games. Indiana Jones and the Infernal Machine, The Emperor's Tomb, and The Staff of Kings were definitely some of the most recent Indiana Jones games that definitely had more of a Tomb Raider vibe. And then the Tomb Raider games took the main concept from the Indiana Jones franchise and placed it with a female protagonist, which was a very cool strategy because there weren't that many badass girls having a main role in video games at that time. After the release of The Angel of Darkness, Tomb Raider turned really slowly into a more action-adventure kind of thing, and then with the reboot it definitely took a more similar path to the Uncharted series in terms of gameplay. Of course, that the latest Tomb Raider game still had the big asset of having an open world for us to explore, whilst Uncharted games are focused in more linear paths. When creating Uncharted, Naughty Dog may have noticed how having a male counterpart exploring tombs was actually being kind of forgotten in time, and they also saw how Tomb Raider was having so much success that they decided to restore the main concept from the Indiana Jones franchise and put it into a new, fresh character with its own story and great sense of humor. Later on, Naughty Dog also took Tomb Raider as an example and decided to add some extra girl power with Uncharted The Lost Legacy, an expansion to Uncharted 4 that revolved around two major female protagonists, Chloe and Nadine. This means that the companies that were behind Indiana Jones, Tomb Raider, and the Uncharted games eventually, or at a certain time, took inspiration from one another to invest in their own different characters, being in terms of story-based concept or some gameplay elements. And we must admit that it's very common to see video games being driven by other video games to create their own kind of thing. It happens all the time. Despite this, Uncharted, Tomb Raider, and even Indiana Jones are completely different games, and I think that arguing which one of them is better is kind of pointless, because of course they can be very similar, but each one of them has its own identity. For example, for me, comparing Lara Croft with Nathan Drake is almost impossible because they both share the same passion, but they have completely different personalities. In the reboot, Lara Croft is very serious about what she does and sometimes overly dramatic. She's very expressive about her emotions and sometimes vulnerable. But in classic games, she's kind of more cold towards people and badass in all of aspects. She's like a big diva that you don't want to mess around with. While Nathan Drake is the complete opposite. He's a very chill dude, always making jokes about everything and not taking things very seriously. And I love both characters for that. Well, if you got to the end of this video, thank you so much for listening to my rant. I hope that it made sense for you in any kind of way and that maybe you learned something new with it. I'm going to end this video here. If you liked it, don't forget to share, to like and subscribe, and I'll see you really soon. Bye bye!